My mother asked when I was getting married. I told her I already did. She just chose not to remember. You are welcome to another amazing time with us. Do well to subscribe so you keep seeing all our mind-blowing family revenge stories. Let's dive in. The chapel smelled like lavender and old wood. Katy Roland had chosen it because it reminded her of the kind of place where promises meant something. Where vows weren't just words you said, but truths you carved into your bones. The afternoon light filtered through stained glass, painting her dress in shades of gold and rose. She looked beautiful. Her husband-to-be, Daniel, told her so 17 times that morning, his voice cracking on the 18th. 50 chairs. That's all they'd set up. Intimate, they called it. Meaningful. Daniel's family filled the left side, his parents, his sister and her kids, his college roommate who flew in from Seattle. Friends dotted the rest. Her co-worker Jen, her book club, the couple from the apartment downstairs who always smiled at her in the hallway. Good people. Kind people. The right side, her side, had 5 empty chairs in the front row. Katy had placed them there herself. Reserved seating, the little card said. Roland family. She'd written the names in careful calligraphy. Patricia Roland. Edward Roland. Jessica Roland. Mark Roland. Olivia Roland. Her mother. Her father. Her sister, brother-in-law, niece. She'd even added a small bouquet of white roses to her mother's chair. The kind her mom always said reminded her of her own wedding day. When the music started, Katy walked herself down the aisle. She'd planned it that way, no one to give her away, because she wasn't property, wasn't a transaction. But her eyes still flicked to those 5 empty chairs. Still hoped, in some pathetic corner of her heart, that maybe they were just running late. Maybe they'd gotten lost. Maybe they didn't come. The ceremony was perfect. Daniel cried. Katy cried. The officiant's voice was warm and steady. When they kissed, their friends erupted in applause that echoed off the chapel walls, trying to fill the silence where her family's voices should have been. At the reception, a small restaurant downtown, string lights and a Spotify playlist, Katy sat at the head table and stared at her phone under the tablecloth. No texts. No calls. No sorry we're late. No car trouble. No congratulations, sweetheart. Nothing. Daniel's mother noticed first. She was a kind woman, the type who asked questions gently, like she was petting a wounded bird. Your family couldn't make it, honey? Katy's smile was practiced easy. They're out of state. Couldn't get away. The lie tasted like copper. But later, alone in the bathroom, staring at her reflection in her white dress and the makeup that was holding up better than she was, Katy let herself feel it. Not anger. Not yet. Just a deep, aching confusion that sat in her chest like a stone. She'd sent the invitations 3 months ago. Addressed them herself. Her mother's elegant cursive on the cream-colored envelopes. She'd included RSVP cards, pre-stamped, pre-addressed. She'd even followed up with a text. Did you get the invitation? Her mother had responded with a thumbs-up emoji. That was it. A thumbs up. And then silence for 12 weeks. Katy stared at her phone, at the empty text thread, at the little ellipsis that never appeared. And in the dim light of that restaurant bathroom, with laughter and music bleeding through the walls, she finally let herself ask the question she'd been swallowing all day. What did I do wrong? She didn't know yet that the answer was worse than anything she could imagine. She didn't know yet that they hadn't forgotten. They'd just decided she didn't matter. 2 months had passed since the wedding. 2 months of Catalina trying to convince herself it didn't matter. That she was fine, that she had Mateo and that was enough. She'd stopped checking her phone every morning for messages that never came. She'd stopped rehearsing conversations in her head where her mother apologized and she graciously forgave. She'd almost convinced herself she'd moved on. Then her phone buzzed on a Tuesday morning while she was making coffee. A text from her mother. The first communication in 14 weeks. Carino, your sister's wedding was beautiful. The venue, the flowers, everything perfect. So proud of Sophia. When are you finally going to tie the knot? You're not getting any younger. Catalina read it once. Then again. Then a third time. The words refusing to rearrange themselves into something that made sense. The coffee pot hissed behind her. The kitchen smelled like burned grounds. She didn't move. When are you finally going to tie the knot? Her hands started shaking. The phone slipped and she caught it against her chest like it might explode. Mhilo walked in, still half asleep, and saw her face. Kata? What's wrong? She couldn't speak. She just turned the phone toward him. He read it. His jaw tightened. Call her. Right now. Catalina's thumb hovered over her mother's name. Part of her wanted to believe there was an explanation. A misunderstanding, a joke in poor taste, something. But another part of her, the part that had sat in that chapel staring at empty chairs, already knew the truth. She pressed call. 3 rings. Then her mother's voice, bright and oblivious. Catalina, did you see the photos I sent? Sophia looked like a princess, didn't she? Mom. Catalina's voice was steadier than she expected. I got married. 2 months ago. Silence. Not the shocked kind. The calculating kind. What? No, you didn't, Mija. Don't be silly. August 15th. At the chapel on Calle Flores. I sent you an invitation. Her mother laughed, a light, dismissive sound that made Catalina's stomach turn. Sweetheart, I never got an invitation. If I had, obviously I would have been there. You know that. I sent 5. 1 for you, 1 for Dad, 1 for Sophia, Diego and Valentina. Well, I never received anything. Maybe you wrote the wrong address? You've always been a bit scatterbrained with details. I used the same address I've been sending Christmas cards to for 6 years. Another pause. Longer this time. Catalina, I don't know what to tell you. We didn't get them. Maybe it was a postal issue. These things happen. So you're saying I imagined sending them? I'm saying we never got them. Her mother's tone had shifted, defensive now clipped. And frankly, it's a little hurtful that you'd accuse me of lying instead of just accepting that sometimes mail gets lost. Catalina closed her eyes. Can I talk to Dad? He's not here right now. Then put Sophia on. She's busy, Catalina. Look, I'm sorry you're upset, but this isn't my fault. If you want to have another ceremony or a vow renewal or something, we'd be happy to come to that. I don't want another ceremony. I wanted my family at the first one. Well, we can't change the past, can we? Her mother's voice had gone cold, the way it always did when Catalina pushed too hard. I have to go. Let's talk when you're feeling more rational. The line went dead. Catalina stood in her kitchen, phone still pressed to her ear, listening to the empty silence where her mother's voice had been. Mateo's hand landed on her shoulder, warm and solid, but she barely felt it. Kata. She's lying. The words came out flat, mechanical. She got them. She got them. I know. She went to Sophia's wedding. She posted about it for a week. But she can't remember mine? I know, mi amor. Why would she lie? Why would she? Catalina's voice cracked. She pressed her palm against her mouth, trying to hold the sound in, but it clawed its way out anyway. A sob that felt like it had been waiting 2 months to escape. Mateo pulled her into his chest. She crumpled against him, shaking, while the coffee pot hissed and the morning light poured through the window, and somewhere in the distance, her phone buzzed with another message. This time it was from her sister. Mom said you called? Look, we really didn't get any invitations, Kata. I'm sorry if you're upset, but you can't blame us for something we didn't know about. Maybe you should have just told us directly instead of relying on the mail? Anyway, hope you're doing well. EXO. That's when something inside Catalina changed. Not broke. That had already happened in the chapel 2 months ago. This was colder. Sharper. A shift from confusion to clarity. From hurt to something harder. She pulled away from Mateo and wiped her face with the back of her hand. Her breathing slowed. Her jaw set. I'm going to prove it, she said quietly. Prove what? That they got them. That they're lying. Mateo studied her face. How? Catalina's eyes were already far away, calculating. I don't know yet. But I will. She didn't eat breakfast that morning. She sat at her laptop instead, opening email after email, searching for receipts, confirmation numbers, anything that could serve as evidence. Her fingers moved fast, almost mechanical, while something dark and determined coiled in her chest. She'd spent her whole life swallowing their neglect, their favoritism, their casual cruelty disguised as forgetfulness. She told herself she was being too sensitive, too needy, too dramatic. But this was documented, dated, traceable, and she was done making excuses for them. The obsession took root quietly at first. Catalina started small, checking her sent emails, her calendar, her bank statements. She found the invoice from the stationery shop. 5 custom wedding invitations, ivory cardstock, gold embossing. Ordered April 12th. She found the receipt from the post office. 5 certified letters, signature required. Mailed May 3rd. She printed everything. Highlighted dates. Cross-referenced timestamps. Mateo watched her from the doorway of their home office, arms crossed, concern etched into the lines around his eyes. Kata, maybe you should take a break. I'm not crazy. She didn't look up from the screen. I sent them. I know I sent them. I believe you. Then why does everyone act like I'm imagining it? Her voice cracked, just slightly. She swallowed it back down. My own mother, Mateo. She looked me in the eye, well through the phone, and told me I was being irrational. He came closer, rested his hand on her shoulder. She leaned into it for just a moment before pulling away, her focus already back on the screen. What are you looking for? He asked gently. Proof, she said. Undeniable proof. That night she couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying her mother's voice in her head. We never got them. The casual certainty of it. The ease with which the lie had rolled off her tongue. As if Catalina's reality was negotiable. As if her memory was faulty. As if she didn't matter enough to tell the truth to. At 3 a.m., she got up and Googled how to track certified mail. The search results glowed in the darkness. Her heart began to pound. USPS tracking. Delivery confirmation. Signature capture available for up to 2 years. Her hands trembled as she navigated to the Postal Service website. She needed the tracking numbers. She'd written them down somewhere, hadn't she? In her wedding planning binder, the thick purple one she'd abandoned in the closet the day after the ceremony, because looking at it hurt too much. She pulled it out at 3:30 a.m., sitting cross-legged on the bedroom floor with only her phone's flashlight for illumination. Mateo stirred in bed but didn't wake. She flipped through pages of venue options, catering menus, flower arrangements, until she found it. A small sticky note in her own handwriting. Invitations mailed May 3rd. Tracking numbers. 5 numbers. 5 codes that could prove she wasn't losing her mind. She entered the first one into the USPS website with shaking fingers. Delivered, May 8, 10:47 a.m. Signature, E. Morales. The breath left her body all at once. She entered the second number. Delivered, May 8, 10:47 a.m. Signature, E. Morales. Third. Delivered, May 8, 10:47 a.m. Signature, E. Morales. All 5. Same date. Same time. Same signature. E. Morales. Elena. Her mother. Catalina sat on the floor of her bedroom at 4 in the morning, staring at the screen until the words blurred. The tracking information didn't just prove the invitations had been delivered. It proved they'd been signed for. Personally. By her mother. She wasn't imagining it. She wasn't confused. She wasn't irrational. She was right. And they were lying. Something cold settled into her chest. A weight that felt almost like relief. Except it hurt too much to be relief. It felt like clarity. Like finally understanding that the gaslighting wasn't accidental. The erasure wasn't forgetfulness. It was a choice. For the next week, Catalina moved through her life like a ghost. She went to work. Smiled at coworkers. Answered Mateo's questions with one-word responses. At night, she returned to her laptop, printing the tracking confirmations, the signatures, organizing them into a folder with the precision of someone building a legal case. Because that's what this felt like, a trial. And she was both prosecutor and witness. Mateo tried to pull her back. Mi amor, you've proven it to yourself. Isn't that enough? No, she said simply. They need to know that I know. And then what? She didn't answer. Because she didn't know yet. The rage that had ignited in her was still burning, but it had gone cold. The kind of cold that didn't explode. It calculated. It waited. One night, she found herself scrolling through old photos on her phone. Pictures from childhood. Birthday parties where Sophia's cake was always bigger. Always had more candles even though they were only 2 years apart. Family vacations where Sophia sat in the front seat, and Catalina was relegated to the back. High school graduations where her mother's smile in Sophia's photos was radiant, unguarded, while in Catalina's photos it was polite, restrained. She'd told herself for years that she was imagining the difference, that she was being paranoid. But now, staring at the evidence, photographic, digital, undeniable, she realized she'd been gaslit her entire life. The wedding invitations weren't the beginning. They were just the most blatant example of a pattern she'd been trained not to see. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Haven't heard from you in a while, Mija. Everything okay? Don't be a stranger. Love you. Catalina stared at the message. At the casual affection. At the heart emoji, so easy to send, so empty of meaning. Her thumb hovered over the keyboard. She typed, I'm fine. Just busy. Then she deleted it and typed, we need to talk about the invitations. Then she deleted that too. Instead, she opened her mother's contact and scrolled down to the bottom, where family events were listed. Birthdays. Anniversaries. And there, marked for late November. Thanksgiving dinner. Mom's house. 6 p.m. Catalina hadn't been planning to go. She never went anymore. Always had an excuse. Always felt like the odd one out. The afterthought invited out of obligation rather than desire. But this year she would go. This year, she had something to bring to the table. She took a screenshot of the tracking confirmations, saved them to a hidden folder on her phone, printed physical copies and slipped them into a manila envelope. She didn't tell Mateo what she was planning. She wasn't sure she could put it into words yet. All she knew was that she was done being erased. Done being told her reality wasn't real. Done shrinking herself to make room for their lies. The old Catalina would have swallowed this. Would have convinced herself it wasn't worth the confrontation. Would have ghosted the family quietly and carried the hurt alone. But something had died in that chapel 2 months ago. Something soft and hopeful and eager to please. And what grew in its place was harder. Sharper. Unafraid of the truth. She looked at her reflection in the darkened window. Her own eyes staring back at her. Unfamiliar and resolute. Okay, she whispered to herself. Let's see them lie to my face. Catalina accepted the Thanksgiving invitation with a text so polite it could have been written by a stranger. Hi Mom. Mateo and I would love to come to Thanksgiving this year. What can we bring? The response came within minutes, effusive and warm, as if the last conversation had never happened. Oh wonderful Mija. So happy you're coming. Just bring yourselves. Can't wait to see you both. Catalina stared at the turkey emoji, at the ease with which her mother could toggle between gaslighting and affection, at how quickly she'd moved on, as if Catalina's pain was something trivial, forgettable. She set the phone down and opened the manila envelope on her desk. Inside, 5 printed pages, 5 tracking confirmations, 5 signatures, all dated May 8th, all signed by E. Morales. Mateo found her that evening, sitting at the kitchen table with the pages spread in front of her like tarot cards predicting an ugly future. You're really going to do this, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes. At Thanksgiving dinner. Yes. He pulled out the chair across from her, and sat down heavily. Kata, I support you. You know I do. But are you sure this is how you want to handle it? In front of everyone. They lied to me in front of everyone, she said quietly. They posted about Sophia's wedding on every social media platform. They celebrated her publicly while erasing me privately. If I confront them alone, they'll just deny it again. Gaslight me again. Tell me I'm being irrational. And if you do it publicly? Then they can't pretend it didn't happen. Her voice was steady, but her hands weren't. She pressed them flat against the table. I need witnesses, Mateo. I need people to see that I'm not crazy. He reached across and covered her hand with his. You're not crazy. You never were. Then why do I feel like I'm losing my mind? Because they made you doubt yourself. That's what gaslighting does. His thumb traced circles on her knuckles. But mi amor, once you do this, there's no taking it back. You understand that, right? This will change everything. Good, she said. Everything needs to change. The week before Thanksgiving, Catalina's phone became a minefield of family communication. Her mother sent recipes. Her sister sent photos of Valentina's school play. Her father sent a forwarded email about traffic routes. As if logistics were his way of showing he cared. Every message felt like a test. Like they were checking to see if she'd forgotten. If she'd moved on. If she'd stay quiet like she always had. She responded to each one with measured politeness. Looks delicious, Mom. Valentina is so talented, Sophie. Thanks for the heads up, Dad. Nothing that revealed her hand. Nothing that gave away what was coming. Matteo watched her navigate these exchanges with a mixture of admiration and concern. You're different, he observed one night as she typed out another neutral response. Different how? Colder. More calculated. She looked up at him. Is that bad? I don't know yet, he admitted. I just want to make sure you don't lose yourself in this. I already lost myself, she said. In that chapel. When I sat there alone wondering what I did wrong. I'm not losing myself now. I'm finding the parts of me they tried to bury. He didn't argue, but she could see the worry in his eyes. 3 days before Thanksgiving, Catalina did something she hadn't done in months. She called her sister. Sophia answered on the second ring, surprise evident in her voice. Cata? Hey. What's up? I just wanted to hear your voice. Catalina lied smoothly. We haven't talked in a while. I know. I've been so busy with Valentina's school stuff and work has been insane. Sophia launched into a monologue about her life, her daughter, her recent promotion. Catalina listened, noting how her sister never once asked about her. Never once said, how are you? How's married life? I'm sorry we missed your wedding. When Sophia finally paused for breath, Catalina asked casually, are you excited for Thanksgiving? Oh my God, yes. Mom's going all out this year. She invited like 15 people. Catalina's stomach clenched. 15. Yeah, the whole extended family. Tia Mariana, Tio Roberto, the cousins. It's going to be packed. Sophia laughed. You know how Mom gets with holidays. 15 people. 15 witnesses. Catalina's hand tightened around the phone. Sounds nice. You're still coming, right? Mom said you and Matteo confirmed. We'll be there. Good. It'll be nice to see you. It's been too long. It's been 2 months, Catalina thought. 2 months since you all skipped my wedding, and then pretended it never happened. But she just said, yeah, too long. After she hung up, she sat in silence for a long moment. 15 people. Her mother had invited 15 people to Thanksgiving. Extended family who probably had no idea what had happened. Aunts and uncles and cousins who would see Catalina walk in and think everything was fine. Perfect. The more witnesses, the better. The night before Thanksgiving, Catalina couldn't sleep. She lay in bed next to Matteo, listening to his steady breathing, envying his ability to rest. Her mind kept running through scenarios, conversations, reactions. What if they denied it even with the proof? What if they turned it around on her, made her look vindictive? What if everyone sided with them? At 2 a.m., she got up and retrieved the envelope from her bag. She'd laminated the pages, a precaution against spilled wine or accidental damage. She'd also made backup copies, stored in her phone and Matteo's just in case. She was thinking like someone preparing for battle. Because that's exactly what this was. She opened her laptop and Googled, how to confront a gaslighting parent. The articles were clinical, detached, full of phrases like set boundaries and prioritize your mental health, and consider low contact or no contact. But none of them addressed what she really wanted to know. How do you make someone admit they hurt you when they've spent years perfecting the art of denial? She clicked on a forum thread. Anonymous users sharing their stories of family confrontations. Most of them ended the same way. They never admitted it. They made me the villain. I haven't spoken to them in 3 years. Catalina's chest tightened. Was that where this was headed? Complete estrangement? No more awkward family dinners. No more obligatory birthday texts. No more pretending? Part of her felt relief at the thought. Part of her felt grief. She closed the laptop and returned to bed. Matteo stirred, reaching for her in his sleep. She curled into him, letting his warmth anchor her. Tomorrow, she whispered into the darkness. Tomorrow they'll know. Thanksgiving morning arrived cold and gray. Catalina dressed carefully. Not too formal, not too casual. She wanted to look put together, credible, like someone who had their life in order. Not like the irrational daughter her mother had painted her as. The envelope went into her purse. Her phone, fully charged, went into her pocket. Mhilo wore a dark sweater and jeans, looking supportive and slightly nervous. "Ready?" he asked as they stood by the front door. Catalina took a deep breath. "No, but we're going anyway." The drive to her parents' house took 30 minutes. 30 minutes of silence punctuated by Mhilo's occasional glances in her direction. 30 minutes of Catalina's heart rate climbing steadily, her palms growing damp, her resolve hardening into something sharp and unbreakable. They pulled up to the house at 5:45 p.m. Cars already lined the street. Her parents' sedan, Sophia's SUV, vehicle she didn't recognize. Through the front window, she could see movement, people, the warm glow of too many lamps trying to create the illusion of warmth. "We can still leave," Mhilo offered quietly. "No," Catalina said. "We can't." She got out of the car, purse clutched against her side like armor. The November air bit at her face. Somewhere inside that house, her mother was probably checking the turkey. Her father was probably pouring drinks. Her sister was probably laughing at someone's joke, completely unaware that the evening was about to detonate. Catalina walked up the driveway, Mhilo at her side, and pressed the doorbell. The sound echoed inside. A cheerful chime that felt obscene given what was about to unfold. Footsteps approached. The door swung open. Her mother stood there, apron tied around her waist, smile bright and false. "Catalina. Mhilo. You're here." She moved in for a hug. Catalina let her, feeling her mother's arms wrap around her with a familiarity that now felt like betrayal. She smelled like turkey and wine, and the same perfume she'd worn for 20 years. Come in, come in. Everyone's in the living room. Let me take your coats." "That's okay, Mom," Catalina said, her voice pleasant, neutral. "We'll hang on to them." Her mother's smile flickered, just for a second. But then it was back, bright as ever. "Suit yourself. Come say hello to everyone." Catalina stepped inside. The house was exactly as she remembered. Family photos on the walls, the same worn couch, the dining table already set for 15. And in the living room, the family. Tia Mariana, Tio Roberto, cousins she hadn't seen in years, Sofia holding Valentina, her father in his usual armchair. They all turned to look at her. "Catalina." Her aunt rushed over, embracing her. "It's been so long." "Too long," Catalina agreed, accepting hugs from people who had no idea they were about to witness a reckoning. Sofia approached, Valentina on her hip. "Hey, you made it." "Wouldn't miss it," Catalina said. Her sister's smile was genuine, which somehow made everything worse. She had no idea. None of them did. Except Mhilo, standing close behind Catalina, his presence the only thing keeping her grounded. Dinner was announced. Everyone moved to the table. Catalina and Mhilo were seated near the middle, not at the head, never at the head. That was reserved for her parents. Sofia and her family sat closest to them, the favored position. Catalina touched the envelope in her purse. Soon, dinner progressed in forced cheerfulness. Turkey carved, wine poured, laughter that felt like performance art. Catalina picked at her food, barely tasting it. Across the table, her mother held court, retelling the story of Sofia's wedding for the third time. The venue was stunning. 300 guests. The flowers alone cost. "How much did your wedding cost, Catalina?" Tia Mariana asked innocently. The table quieted. Just slightly. Her mother's fork paused mid-air. "Oh, Catalina's not married yet. Someday though, right, Mija?" Catalina felt Mhilo's hand find hers under the table. "Actually," she said, her voice clear and steady, "I got married 4 months ago. August 15th. Silence. Heavy and sharp. Her mother laughed, nervous, dismissive. "What? No, you didn't." "I did. At the chapel on Calle Flores. Small ceremony. 50 guests." Catalina looked directly at her mother. "I sent you all invitations. Certified mail. You signed for them on May 8th at 10:47 a.m. Her father set down his glass. Sophia's smile faltered. Sweetheart, we never. Her mother started. Catalina pulled the envelope from her purse. Slid it across the table. USPS tracking confirmations. All 5 invitations. Delivered to this address. She pointed to the signature line. That's your signature, Mom. E. Morales. The room held its breath. Her mother's face drained of color. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. There must be some mistake. There's no mistake. Catalina's voice didn't waver. You got them. You chose not to come. And then you pretended for months that I never invited you. That I never got married. That my wedding didn't exist. Tia Mariana looked between them, confusion morphing into horrified understanding. You're tearing this family apart, her mother whispered. Catalina stood, chair scraping against hardwood. No, Mom. You already did that. The silence shattered when Tia Mariana spoke. Elena. Her voice cut through the tension like a blade. Is this true? Catalina's mother scrambled for words. It's complicated. It's not complicated, Catalina said. It's documented. Mateo stood beside her, his hand finding the small of her back. Solid. Unwavering. We sent pictures too. After the wedding. To the family group chat. No one responded. Sophia's face went pale. I thought you were joking. The photos look so. So what? Catalina's voice cracked. So real? So happy? So worth acknowledging. Her father finally spoke, voice gravel rough. We thought it would cause problems. Your sister's wedding was already planned. We didn't want complications. Complications. Catalina repeated the word like it was poison. I was a complication. Tia Mariana pushed back from the table, walked to Catalina, and pulled her into a fierce embrace. Mija, I'm so sorry. If I had known. But you didn't know. Because they hid it. Catalina's eyes burned, but she refused to cry. Not here. Not now. Tio Roberto cleared his throat. This is wrong, Elena. How could you? Don't you dare judge me. Her mother stood, hands shaking. You don't understand what it's like, trying to keep this family together, trying to make everyone happy. Everyone except me, Catalina whispered. Mateo squeezed her hand. 3 times. Their signal. I'm here. I love you. You're not alone. For the first time since entering the house, Catalina felt something other than rage. She felt seen. Not by her parents. Not by her sister. But by the people who chose to see her. And maybe that was enough. Sophia's chair scraped back. She stood, face flushed, eyes glistening with something between guilt and defensiveness. You want to know the truth, Kata? Her voice trembled. Fine. I'll tell you the truth. The room froze. Even their mother went silent. I told them not to go. Sophia's words came out in a rush, like poison she'd been holding in too long. I told Mom that if they went to your wedding, your small, rushed, barely planned wedding, it would overshadow mine. My wedding that I'd been planning for 2 years. My wedding that was supposed to be the family event. Catalina felt the air leave her lungs. Sophia. Their mother started, but Sophia cut her off. No, she wants honesty. Here's honesty. I was jealous, okay? You got engaged out of nowhere. No big announcement, no family celebration, just a text message saying Mateo proposed. Like it was nothing. And then 6 months later you're getting married and I thought, her voice cracked. I thought you were trying to steal my moment. Steal your moment? Catalina's voice was barely a whisper. You've had every moment. Every birthday, every achievement, every milestone. Mom made sure you had the spotlight. Always. That's not fair. Isn't it? Catalina's composure finally cracked. Do you know what it's like? Being the daughter who's always second? The one whose art show gets a "that's nice, dear," while your piano recital gets a standing ovation? The one whose college acceptance gets a card while yours gets a party? Sophia's tears spilled over. You think it's easy being the favorite? You think I asked for that? The pressure, the expectations, always having to be perfect. At least you were seen. Catalina's voice rose raw and jagged. At least when you walked into a room, Mom's face lit up. At least your wedding invitations didn't end up hidden in a drawer, because you were an inconvenience. Their mother finally found her voice, desperate and sharp. It wasn't like that. Sophia was upset, yes, but I made the decision. I thought if we just waited, if we didn't make a big deal out of your wedding, then everyone would be happy at Sophia's. So you chose her happiness over my dignity. The words hung in the air like an indictment. I chose peace over drama. Her mother's voice broke. You've always been so sensitive, Catalina. Always making everything about you, always needing attention. I needed a mother, Catalina shouted. The room went dead silent. I needed a mother who showed up, who cared, who didn't treat me like I was too much trouble to love. Her father stood abruptly, face red. That's enough. Catalina, you're being cruel. I'm being honest. Her voice dropped to something cold and final. And you can't handle it because you've spent 28 years pretending I was the problem. Pretending that if I just tried harder, needed less, stayed quieter, maybe I'd finally be worth loving the way you love Sophia. She looked at her sister, at the tears streaming down her face, and felt something unexpected. Not satisfaction, but emptiness. This wasn't justice. This was just pain multiplied. Mateo's hand tightened around hers. Kata, maybe we should. No. She pulled away from him, from his kindness, from the only anchor keeping her from drowning. You don't understand. None of you understand. She looked around the table, at her aunt's horror, her uncle's discomfort, her cousin's wide-eyed shock, at the family she'd exposed, the wounds she'd ripped open, the truth she'd forced into the light. And suddenly she saw herself through their eyes. Not the wrong daughter seeking justice, but the woman who'd detonated a bomb at Thanksgiving dinner. The one who'd brought receipts and revenge to a family gathering. The one who'd made everyone uncomfortable with her pain. She'd become the villain in her own story. I shouldn't have come, she whispered. Mateo reached for her. Mi amor. But she was already moving toward the door, leaving the envelope on the table like evidence at a crime scene. Leaving the shocked silence. Leaving the family that had never really been hers. She'd wanted vindication. She'd gotten destruction. And the worst part? She'd done it to herself. Catalina made it to the porch before her father's voice stopped her. Wait. She turned. He stood in the doorway, backlit by the dining room's warm glow. A glow that had never quite reached her. What, Dad? What could you possibly say right now? He stepped outside, closing the door behind him. The November cold bit at them both. You're right. The words hit harder than any denial could have. About all of it, he continued, voice heavy. Your mother and I. We took the easy road. Sophia demanded attention, and you were easy. Self-sufficient. We told ourselves you didn't need us as much. His eyes glistened. We were wrong. And lazy. And I'm sorry. Catalina's throat tightened. Sorry doesn't give me back my wedding day. No. It doesn't. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his wallet, and extracted a worn photograph. Her senior portrait. Creased from years of carrying. I've had this for 10 years. Every day, I look at it and wonder when I lost you. Now I know. I lost you the moment I chose comfort over courage. Dad. I signed those invitations too. In my heart, I knew they'd arrived. I just didn't want the fight. Didn't want to upset your mother or Sophia. He looked at her fully, tears tracking down his weathered face. I chose peace over you. And that's something I'll carry forever. Catalina felt her anger crack, not breaking but shifting. I can't forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I know. He nodded. But I needed you to know. You were never the problem. You were never too much. You were just more than I knew how to love. He handed her the photograph. Then he walked back inside, leaving her alone in the cold. 6 months later, Catalina stood in a small art gallery, her paintings lining the walls. Bold strokes of red and gold. Anger transformed into beauty. The invitation list had been carefully curated. Mateo's family. Her co-workers. Tia Mariana and Tio Roberto. Friends who'd chosen to see her. No Elena. No Sofia. No father carrying worn photographs. The gallery hummed with conversation and wine. Catalina moved through it feeling lighter than she had in years, not because the pain was gone, but because she'd stopped carrying their shame. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Saw your gallery opening on Facebook. Your work is beautiful. I'm proud of you. Catalina stared at the words. Once they would have meant everything. Now they felt like breadcrumbs from someone who'd never offered a meal. She didn't respond. Didn't block. Just let it exist in the space between them. Mhilo appeared at her elbow, champagne in hand. You okay? Yeah. And surprisingly she meant it. I think I am. Any regrets? About Thanksgiving? Catalina considered. The confrontation hadn't given her what she'd wanted. No tearful reconciliation, no genuine apology from her mother, no magical healing. But it had given her something else. The certainty that she wasn't crazy. That her pain was real. That she deserved to be seen. No regrets, she said finally. I needed to know I could stand up for myself. Even if it cost me everything. It didn't cost you everything. Mhilo gestured at the crowded gallery. Look around. She did. Saw faces of people who'd shown up. Who'd celebrated her. Who'd chosen her not out of obligation, but love. Her family hadn't come to her wedding. But she'd built a new family anyway. And maybe that was the best revenge of all. Not destruction, but creation. Not burning bridges, but building new ones. Living well. Was it worth it? Did Catalina find her redemption? Thanks for staying with all till the end. Do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more mind-blowing episodes.